Hi guys, Geekonomics here. It's the 27th of September, and what a fine day it is out there. Just bringing you a little Sunday papers review, as it were. So this is the business pages of today's Sunday Times. So much in here, as you can no doubt tell. ECB, the European Central Bank, and hits Volkswagen with a ban on loans. So the European Central Bank, in light of the disgrace which has hit the Volkswagen car company last week, they have said that they will no longer buy the loans that are used by Volkswagen to finance the sales of its cars. So tough times ahead indeed for the world's #1 car producer. We also have, let's just see what else have we got. The headline here: recovery boost takes the pressure off Osborne. Britain's recovery from the worst recession in generations was far stronger than previously thought. Official figures will confirm this week. The data will give a boost to George Osborne ahead of his spending review and autumn statement in November. And hopefully that should maybe enable George Osborne to loosen the purse strings a little bit and perhaps not be so harsh on the old austerity measures. Your favourite and mine, of course, at the moment, David Smith in his economic outlook. He's looking at again, it's monetary policy. So a very interesting article about the so-called, and we've talked about this before, the quote-unquote normalisation of monetary policy. And just discussing really the fact that given that the base rates, not just in the UK but around the globe, are at 0%, at some point, given the fact that the economy goes in cycles, and the global economy goes in cycles, at some point, next 5 years, next 10 years, who knows, the global economy is going to hit another recession. Now if your interest rates are already at 0 still at that time, it leaves you very little room to manoeuvre. Instead of having the monetary policy lever, the fiscal policy lever and the supply side policy lever, it only leaves you with with fiscal policy and supply side policy. And your monetary policy in effect is tied behind your back. Erwin Stelter is talking about the visit of Xi Jinping to America this week, where the Chinese ordered 300 Boeing jets from Seattle, is it? I think their factory is. So further trade links. We've already seen George Osborne here, there and everywhere, and he's like the Prime Minister, George Osborne, these days. And those of you doing F584 transport unit, tremendous article here. Let me just show you it. It's about the HS2, the proposed HS2. It's called Transport Geek Wants to Show Us Light at the End of the Tunnel. And Nicola Shaw, who headed up the HS1, has now been put in charge of Network Rail, and her job is to fix Network Rail. So a must read article for all of you doing F584. And I think that's it in the Sunday Times. A couple of articles I just came across from previous weeks. This was last week when the Sunday Times published their best and worst university guide. So here in I think it's last week's edition, they are posting an article about which degrees have the worst job prospects. I'll not read the worst to you in case it upsets you, but the best are medicine, as you would expect, dentistry, nursing, radiography, veterinary medicine, physiotherapy, pharmacy, property management, building and civil engineering. So quite an interesting article in there, and it's related to this article also last week about the Cambridge University is planning to introduce a universal entrance exam for the first time in a generation, and they're doing that because of the reform to the, as you know, the AS-A2 level. So it's to help and choose between candidates when the AS level is scrapped. So that's interesting. And a final one here, this was in yesterday's Newcastle Journal, Just a nice little one there. It's got a little chart on the FTSE, if you can see that. And just talking about the fact that US GDP growth figures were revised higher on Friday, up to 3.9% from 3.7%. Obviously, if the United States of America is growing well, we do refer to it as the engine of world growth. So if it's growing well, we can all look forward to prosperity in the future. And that's even on the back of Janet Yellen's decision to postpone the base rate rise in America last week, which most people were expecting, and it did knock confidence a little bit, but that seems to have been restored. So that's the news review for this week. You probably all know that anyway because you've been reading it yourselves. So thanks for tuning in, and see you next time.